Thank you again, guys, for attending today's session. I appreciate, coming back from half term, everybody kind of lethargic. I know what, I don't like Mondays. I'm going to pull a Bob Geldof on everybody, saying, you know what, I'm going to stay away from everything, but studying never stops for you. Until you achieve your aims of completing your level two qualification, this is going to be most likely to be a final step of your level two certificates in accounting qualification. And then you also know this unit incorporates spreadsheet elements into the examinations. Therefore, some of the students, they come and say like, oh, I haven't done no spreadsheet myself. I don't know what it is. But then this is the opportunity you're going to go and have a look into it. What is expected of you in the exam? Normally in the exam, yeah, and yeah, really sorry about that. I always think of students who do this exam when they're going to go. They think, oh, I need to be a master in spreadsheet or Excel or what it is there. No, you don't have to, because what they check here, it's the elements, the basic knowledge of how spreadsheet work, how that is an effective tool when it comes to accounting, and also you're looking at it in a way it sets you up in a good foundation so you can get yourself better at it as you progress through your accounting qualifications. It's no one ever say to you, without knowing spreadsheets, you can't be a good accountant. Yeah, of course, you may be able to do it, but to do some simple task, you need to know what is a spreadsheet and what is going to help you with, achieving that kind of the literacy on how the spreadsheet can impact your overall outcome as an effective accountant or a bookkeeper or anybody who works in the finance. So what we're going to do today, though, is going to look at some of the exam style questions we looked at in the past, and then we're going to do that just purely on spreadsheets and how those questions will look like. So you also have to remember, in the AAT exams, there is no separate spreadsheet software like Excel. You don't open it up on level two. I have to open Excel. I have to work on there. No, you don't. You only get two questions on spreadsheet, and those two questions are like embedded within your exam software. Like in your website, you just open your question, and then there will be a kind of a spreadsheet element embedded within your exam screen, and you just have to fill in the blanks. Also remember, at level two, there is no need for you to use any formulas. You're only going to do, no, you can do formulas. You can't do any functions. Functions such as sum, average, VLOOKUP, kind of a give me 1 second. My Wi-Fi just disconnected. Did that work? Diagnose? No, they're fine. Absolutely. So without further ado, guys, have a quick look at what questions we have in plan for you. If my mouse decide to let me open the file, yeah, just bear with us. So I'm going to share the desktop now. So that should be able to open that question here. So for example, here, this is a spreadsheet question from a Kaplan resources. So what they have given you is some information here. What we need to do, we need to fill in these boxes, and then we also have to choose something from the pick list. Yeah, in level 2, you don't have to do a conditional format here or a if condition, because you just have to select the answers. But in level 3, though, you will do something more complex. So in this scenario, you have got Camille Limited, you have some of the budgets, and then some of the data from the actual results of for budget of 1,500 units. So they're asking you here, fill all of these boxes. So how would I go about and doing them? So the first thing when it comes to spreadsheet, you need to identify two things. One is how to identify a particular cell and how we going to use that particular cell's information in a target cell. They are the two things. How you identify them? First, you look at these things on the top. These are called the columns. And here, what we call them as rows. So these things, when they intersect in a particular area, that is your cell. So here, this cell is B3. So you have to remember it. If they ask you, the data on B3 could be entered here as a part of a formula. So let's see here how I'm going to do it. So first thing is, what is the revenue for 1,500 units? How would I know what is the total revenue? It's going to be 250 pounds per unit, but I sold 1,500 from it. So I'm going to say this is equal to, whenever you're going to do a formula, you must do an equal sign. If you don't do the equal sign, if I just don't do it, it will not recognize that it's a formula. So if I say that is going to be that, this is going to be, I will say B3 times B4. That is the number. Yeah. Now, if I enter it, it does not produce me an answer. But if I put an equal sign in front of it, can you now notice it has recognized these two cells? The cell B3 times B4, and that will give you 375,000 pounds. In the exam, you must do this as that formula. You could also do a different way. If I want to add something, I can do plus, minus, sum, anything like that way. Yes, but in the exam, the sum is no go. You don't use the word sum. You're just going to say plus, plus, minus, minus, whatever you want to do that way. Now let's look at the next one. They find you what is the total material cost. So here, according to the budget, it's going to take me 4,000 kilograms, but it be valued at 20 pounds per kilogram. So here I'm going to say equal to that times that. In the exam, if you cannot select the boxes, you type the data manually. P5 star, that is equal to the max, multiplying, and then you're going to say T5. It will automatically give you the total material cost now. And here they want you to find out what is the profit. So how would I know what is the profit is going to be for you? This is going to be a material plus labor plus overhead is going to be your total cost. Take that away from your revenue. For some reason, there is no labor here, so it could be something automated. So we don't have to involve any labor here. So what we'll do to find the profit, the revenue minus the material minus the overheads. I can do that way. The answer will be 250,000. Sometimes you also could do, in this scenario, I'm going to show you a nest function. A nest function, what it does, it allows you to put all your expenses together. So if I'm going to say minus, but within brackets, this plus that, I can do that as well. It will still work and it will give you 250,000 pounds here. So that is your budgeted figure. Now, what is the next thing we're going to look at? It's what we call the variance. Variances are calculated to check your budgeted figure against your actual figure. So if you performed well in revenue, you must have more actual revenue than your budgeted revenue, because that is my budget. My budget is going to be, say, 100 pounds. But if I have achieved my revenue 110 pounds, it's good for you because you earn more than you're budgeted for. But for the expenses, it is the other way around. Why? You have budget for 50 pounds. Say, if you spend 60 pounds, you spend more. Therefore, that is a bad variance or an adverse variance. So we have to decide how we do the formula for this. So in this scenario, my formula for the variance is going to be C9 minus B9, because obviously my actual revenue is higher than my budgeted revenue. So this gives me a positive number, which is good for me. This is what I wanted. And then also, if you look at the materials here, you spend more than your budgeted figure. Therefore, it should give you a negative variance or an adverse variance. How to do a formula for this? You flip the formula. This time, B10 minus C10. That gives you a negative variance. How about the last one now, the fixed overheads? Your budget is 445,000. My actual is 43,000. In this scenario, I feel I saved some money on my overheads because my budget is 45K. My actual is 43K. So what do you think about it? That one should be giving me a positive variance. So what I will do? This minus that gives you the positive variance. Can you notice it? The expenses are both from budget minus actual. My revenue is actual minus budget to get the desired number there. So how would you get for your profit and loss? If I want to ever do it with the profit and loss, my profit is better than my budget. My actual profit is better than my budget. So I should get a positive number. So same way, it is going to be calculated your revenue. You're going to do same thing for your profit as well. Your profit is a favorable variance. But we're not going to do that here in this scenario. We're going to check what is the revenue here. We're going to say favorable. This one is going to be adverse. And here is favorable. In the exam, you may have to type it manually, or you may have to do that on the pick list. You will not be asked to create the pick list like the one we have done now. But what we also now have to do is to find the variance percentage. What is the variance percentage they're talking about? It's calculated by dividing the variance figure, which you have achieved in the D column, by the budgeted column here. So how would I do it? It's going to be equal to this divide, which is the slash sign, because there is no the division with the line and two dots over and under. We don't have it here. We use the slash button and by that time. And when I do that, it is automatically formatted to the percentage here. That percentage format, we'll see in the exam how to change it. If you ever get it, you'll be able to change it. If you don't see the percentage, you need to times it by 100. Okay, so now let's look at this one. This scenario, this is going to be this, divide by that. I have 6.25. Last one, this one is this, divide by that. It's going to be 4.44. They have said, not here, I have read the question, the percentage of the significance is staying at 5%. So the 5%, anything above of 5%, I need to say that is a significant variance. Anything below 5% is, I can say that is a non-significant variance. So in that case, let me say here, pick list. This one is no. Materials, this is yes. And this one is no. Can you notice that here? In the exam, you just have to do it manually if you ever get one like this way. Okay. So the formulas here, it is simple. You have to use the target cells. So these two cells here, in this scenario, these two cells here, and here, these three cells here. And then the variances are calculated actual minus budget for revenue or the profit, and budget minus actual for materials and the overheads and the labor or any other expenses you may see fit. Okay, so this is one of the type of exam paper. So I'm going to not save this file. Then let me show you another question. Here. So you have got a cost card now. They ask you to enter these numbers in this cost card, and then you have to select the variance, and then you have to say it is adverse or favorable. So the budgeted number we have here is 1,200 units. So I need to make sure I fill all of these gaps. So how would I do it? So first thing is, I need to remember not to forget about the initial query here. Your sales revenue, materials, your labor, fixed overheads and profit per unit, they all according to what we have got so far. This is the unit cost card. But now what we have here is for 1,200 units. Some people come and ask me, oh, the fixed overheads, why they have it like that way? Sometimes they tell you that way because it's for that particular level of production. So the total fixed overheads, now let me work that out for you. This one times that number is 60,000 pounds, but it will not change with the level of production. So if I'm going to change a flex budget for 1,300, 1,400, 1,500 units, even though if it's only more or less, that number will not change. That stays same at all the levels. But because it's the cost card for one unit, so I will be able to interpret this number as one-off. And please remember, the variable cost per unit in this scenario and the revenue, they are subject to not change as well. These ones are normally your constant numbers. So that means more it will produce, more it's going to cost you. More you're going to sell, more you're going to earn on the revenue as well. So please remember, these numbers are the constant numbers. This one will change per unit, but the overall, this number, it will not change. So these are the constants. I can use it in any level of production. So let's say here quickly, what is the total revenue? First is 1,200 units times the 650. I have 780,000 pounds. My materials, 1,200 times 210, 252,000. Labor, 1,200 times 168, and it gives you 201,600. So now to find the profit, you can also do this times this. You will get the same answer, but let's do the right way. This is going to be this minus that minus that minus that. That's how you do in your level 2 exam. It is here according to this. Yeah, your expected profit on the budget is 266,400. My actual profit though is significantly lower. It could be down to many other reasons. So let's see here, what is the variance? Again, the variance is calculated actual minus budget for the revenue. For the expenses, it's going to be budget minus actual. So here is equal to budget minus actual. Here is equal to budget minus actual. So can you notice here, there are two negative variances. These will be going as adverse. This is going to be as adverse. And these two are your favorable variances because they are good for you, because you spend less than you're budgeted for. So if they ever ask you for your profit, what do you think your profit is going to be? Profit is also going to be adverse. And if I want to find the variance for this one, I'm going to say this minus that. So if you add all of those numbers, not plus or minus here, you add all the variances, you will get that number as your total variances as well. That is a good way of cross-checking. But what is the good thing about this question is they're using a cost card. When you do a cost card, you should be able to use that in the equation as a multiplication of those numbers against the production level. So that is also good. Now let's look at the third question, which is for Garcia Limited. Let me see whether I'm not doing this question or not, because I could not. Now I can't do this one. Let me check this one. This also I could not do it, yeah, because the information was missing earlier. No, let's not do this one. Okay, let's do this question instead. The Doomsday Limited. Let me say whether that is fine to use. Yeah. So if I get a question like this way in your exam, that is a lot easier comparatively, but you also have to remember how to reference the cells properly now. So here they want you to find the total cost, and then they also want you to find the unit cost. So what they're given you here is how many kilograms of materials and how much it costs you per kilogram, and how many hours of labor it takes, and how much it pays you for the labor. So here, what I have to assume though, this is per unit. This is the cost per unit. These are per unit cost. This is per unit costs. Okay, so here I will say for materials how much it costs me for one material now. So here 1 unit, this times 0.05, so it's going to cost me £22.50 per unit. And how about for labor? This times 16 pounds per hour, that's going to cost me 40 pounds per unit. And also I know my fixed overheads, it's going to be equal to that box. Can you now notice I have some information for the unit and some total information. They are the ones we have found out now. So what we need to do is find out the missing information from this question. What are the information is missing is my total cost for material and labor, and what is the fixed overheads for 1 unit. What is the missing information? The production units. I am going to produce 20,000 units. So if I cost you 1 unit at £22.50, the total number of cost for 20,000 units is going to be £450,000 material. And how about the labor? So 1 unit is going to cost you £40. So each unit is going to be costing you £40 labor. The total number of units is 20,000 units, and it's going to cost me £800,000. And how would I find the fixed overheads now? I know the total fixed overheads for 20,000 units, £75,000. So the 1 unit is going to be this divided by that number. That gives you £3.75. So I can fill in the rest of the information. My total cost is going to be this plus that plus that's it. And here the total unit cost is going to be this plus that number, £66.25. And also we can corroborate it by checking that number divide by the 20,000. It will give you £66.25. You can cross check it now. If you add all of these numbers, you'll get that number. And if you divide this by the number of unit, also will get that number. So the number we have worked out is absolutely correct. If you're not sure, you have a calculator in hand, you can make sure use the calculator to your advantage in the exam, because obviously here you will still have to type a formula. If some of the times they will tell you you can only do formula on some of the boxes, rest of them you have to manually fill in the numbers without typing a formula. That time you have to use your calculator. Okay, please remember that. Now let's look at the next question I have here about Groove Limited. So here it is the question about the manufacturing account. So if you guys remember, the manufacturing account has 14 steps. So here are your 14 steps, but they're in 5 different stages. So the first stage is always about calculating what is the raw materials used. So if I'm going to look at that here, the direct material use, that is the first box. Then you add to that your direct labor, and we will find either the direct cost or the prime cost of it, because that is another name they use, prime cost. And then to it, you add any manufacturing overheads, and then you will get the manufacturing cost. So once you got that manufacturing cost, you will work on reconciling the work in progress. In this scenario, the work in progress opening inventory get added, take away the closing inventory of work in progress, we'll get cost of goods manufactured. So here, that is the number we have. And finally, we reconcile the closing inventory and the opening inventory of your finished goods. In this scenario, add the opening inventory and take away the closing inventory. You get cost of goods sold or cost of sales. You get either one of them is fine. But remember, whenever you see this, the important part is opening inventory is always plus, closing inventory is always minus. It takes them away. So how to find out these numbers here? So I'm going to go to the formula now. The formula is going to be this plus that minus the closing inventory. Closing inventory is always minus. It's 29,000 pounds. And then what is the direct cost? This is going to be this plus that number. Got that one now. It's 51,000 pounds, the direct cost. Add to that your manufacturing overheads. You're going to add this plus that number, which is 96,000 pounds. Now reconciling the work in progress. So we're going to say this plus that opening inventory minus the closing inventory. That gives you 92,000 pounds 500. And the last but the least, we're going to do the finished goods. So we're going to say this plus the finished goods minus the closing inventory of finished goods. The cost of goods sold is come up to 96,000 pounds 500. Okay, so you have to remember, guys, whenever you're going to do it, think about the 5 steps: the materials, labor, added to the direct cost, manufacturing cost, cost of goods manufacturing, cost of sales. And these formulas are the ones you sometimes may have to fill that in the blanks on the side there. Okay, so whenever you get it, these are your 5 stages of your manufacturing accounting, but they all together, there will be 14 lines there. Now, the last but the least, we have one more question here. Now, I've done it on the wrong order. That's why I had the harder question on the top and the easier question on the bottom. So let's look at this easier question anyway. This one about OAR, I can't do that here now. This won't work. Okay, so let me quickly check. There's another question from this mock paper. Let's see whether I can use this. No, not this one. Question, let me check. Yeah. Again, we have a question of manufacturing account here. Can you notice that here? They give you a pick list. You have got that one, and then there are 4. They already done the direct material used. So if I have 22,000 pounds here, I need to use, in case that is a blank, the formula will be this plus that minus that number. That should give you 20,000. They already have given you that. So what is the next one on the list here? We have the direct material used. You add the direct label to it, you're going to get your direct cost. And then the direct cost is going to be equal to this plus the labor, which is going to be 40,000. You add your manufacturing overheads to it. What are you going to get? You're going to get cost of manufacturing cost, sorry, the manufacturing cost. So let's say here that will be plus that and that. Now opening inventory is going to be added. Take away the closing inventory, we're going to get the cost of goods manufactured. So here this is going to be equal to 86,000 plus that minus that number, which is 80,000 pounds. And the final one is cost of goods sold. This is going to be also the same way. This plus the opening inventory of the finished goods minus the closing inventory of the finished goods is 67,000 pounds. But can you also notice, you asked me a question, why the finish or the closing inventory on all of them are taken away? Imagine that when you produce something, you complete it and you're trying to sell it. But what if I have partially completed something? I put some effort in there, but it's not been sold. Can that be part of my cost of sales? Because I haven't sold it. So I need to take them away. Same as your materials. I haven't sold that goods. Therefore, anything I have my closing inventory, it needs to be taken away. They're not part of my current inventory valuation on the goods sold. So anytime there's a closing inventory, you take them away. Why? Because on the following period, they will become the opening inventory. So please remember, they're not lost, but they're just been shifted to the next period. There they could be used as the part of the opening inventory for the next period, and then I can carry on using them, or carry on finishing them, or carry on selling them as my finished goods. Okay, so if you get a question like this way, that will be the answer. And then the last but the least, and before we go to the exam style questions, we have, again, it is a similar kind of a question we have done now, whether we have to choose yes or no on the significant or non-significant list. Let's fill these boxes out quickly, because now we have budgeted figures of 4,000 units. So let's say here, let me enable the, yeah, so here the revenue is going to be that, oops, is equal to that times selling price is that. My material is going to be equal to that times 40 pounds from there. And the production overhead is going to be equal to 37,000 pounds. The variance is going to be, let's see the profit first. Profit is going to be this minus this minus. So 163,000 pounds. You have an actual profit of 135,000 pounds, 200. Therefore, your variance is negative, means you have got a lesser profit than anticipated. So it is definitely going to be an adverse variance. So let's work out those numbers. So the revenue is going to be this minus that. Remember, I've said to you, you must have more on the revenue. So here, this minus that. Again, it has given you a negative. And then the last one, this minus that. So altogether, all three of my variances are negative. Can you see? All three of them are negative, and therefore my overall variance is also a negative number here, because they already done the formula with the sum function, which I really don't want to do. I could have done add all of them together, yeah, because it is the number of variance is going to be. Now let's look at the percentages. Percentage is going to be equal to this divide by the budget. 3%, this divide by budget. 10%, this one is equal to this divide by that. 2.7%, the last one is this divide by that. 17.06. So if I have a 5% significance number there, so if I say percentage here, these things will be non-significant, but these two will be clearly significant because they are really high numbers. So normally when a manager sees these numbers, they will normally look into it as a reason to investigate them. How they will look at it, they will sometimes give you some options. What is the reason behind this variances being significant? So if I'm going to tell you, all right, now we're talking about the direct material variances. If I say there's a statement, the overtime rate has increased, is that a reason your direct material variance could be significant? No, because it's nothing to do with the labor. It is the material cost, isn't it? So that is not the reason. You can say another statement, or you have managed to secure a prompt payment discount for paying early for your materials, a bulk discount, any sort of a discount. Then you look at it and you say, in that case, the cost should have been really down, not up. So in this scenario, if I have said that statement doesn't make any sense why the variance is negative. If I've got a prompt payment discount or a bulk discount, I should get a favorable variance, isn't it? So it is not. But they suddenly say here, due to unfavorable economic conditions, the cost of securing material has gone up, like the delivery cost or anything to do with acquiring them has gone up. Yes, That's time. If you look at that here, now currently due to the war conditions around in Middle East, what happened with the fuel prices has gone up. You already had a budget and the material now has changed because of the fuel cost. Every supplier increases the price of their material. So that could be the reason for that variance. So if I give you a statement there, think about it with a real life scenario, might help you understand why those variances are there and how to identify them. Okay, so that question we got it done now. Now let's look at a couple of exam style questions. Okay, so here on this I have that one. Yeah, now let's look at this question here. Question number 3. So here is a really good question. In the exam, you may not get all of these toolbars here. Yeah, you will sometimes get something similar to it. You may be able to use the simple functions there, like changing the format of the cell. You can bold, italics, underline. You can change the size of the font. You can merge and center. You can change the type of the data in there, and you can wrap text and so you can do some of it, not many other function like these conditional format, delete, insert cells. They can't do that in your exam software. You probably can do the probably alignments and font and text formats. Okay, so let's see here what they asked you. So there are 8 tasks they have given you in the exam. What we're going to do, the first one is merge and center the content of cell A1 to F1. So if I'm going to say here A1 to F1, these are the cells, but only that one has data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of that, and then I'm going to click on merge and center. So what it does, it merges the data together into one big cell, and it centers it along that line there. If I have data somewhere else, for example, if I say select here, yeah, and if I choose this, and if I do merge and center, it won't merge and center because it will only keep the upper left value and discard the other value. So that means this word select will go away. Now let's press OK. See, the data on the other cells after the first cell will be all wiped out. So be careful when you're using it. Make sure the other cells are empty without any data because you may end up losing them. Next one, make the content of cell A1 bold, the merge cell A1 to be bold. So here I'm going to select this bold option now. Can you see this has become bold? And then now we've done this. These two are done. What I'm going to do when I'm finished it, I'm going to yellow just to say they're done. Calculate the variances for sale in cell D4 and materials in D5 using formulas. Use the negative value with the sign of minus or within brackets. So here I'm going to say if I do a positive number, it will come to a positive number. Otherwise, it will be a negative number. So how I'm going to do? The sales is going to be actual minus budget. And this one is going to be budget minus actual. And what is that going to give me? This is a positive variance and that is a negative variance. Can you see here? The variances are already calculated as a percentage here. So what we now have to do, we need to think about in case if I don't get the right number, I need to check it whether they're right or wrong. Okay, but let's see here. I have done the third one. Fourth one, calculate the sum, total sum of all the variation in cell D8 using a formula. So here I have to do a formula to calculate all the variances. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say this plus this plus this plus this. And it should give you a 10. Yeah, there you go. That could have been also found by this minus that as well. You're going to get a 10 there, and that's what they want you to do. The total profit variance is positive 10. So in that case, that is good. It's good for me. Now, the next one is, now let's put that one. Calculate the percentage of the variance on labor cell E6 using a formula. So here, the formula is going to be that divide by that budgeted number and it gave me a percentage. If it doesn't give you a percentage, if that is staying as a number like that way, click on the percentage icon here. This percentage icon, what it does, it changes that to the formula to the percentage now. Yeah, initially it was 0.04 and that now has changed to 4%. So we have done that. We have clicked on that and done this here. Enter the title significant or not in cell F3. If this does not fit completely within the cell, wrap the text. So let's say here, significant or not. If I've done that, can you see here? It is going all over the place. But what I need to do, I need to say I can see all of that data. So what I'm going to do, I'm clicking on the wrap text. What it does, can you see here? It just makes this cell visible on all counts of the data there. So it wraps the text to fit everything can be visible now. So we have done that as well. Now the next part, determine whether the variance for labor is significant and type yes or no in cell F6. So what I need to do though, I need to find out whether they are significant or not, because you have to remember, again, I'm going to use the 5%. Okay, the 5% is the target. So these three are significant because they are more than 5%. So what do you think about this one? This is definitely no. Okay, it is no because that is not significant. So we have done that. And the last one, put a bottom border for cell B3 to F3. So if I'm going to do here, this is B3 to F3, I need to do a bottom border on cell B3 to F3. So what I'm going to do here, can you see here? This is the bottom border. So if you notice that here, it does show you what you need. So if I put a bottom border, can you see all of those boxes have something on the bottom there with a border. So let me select this. I've done that as well now. So this is the numbers they ask you to do. They don't ask you to do a significant for the profit or not. We're not bothered about it at the moment, but we've only been asked to do whatever the missing boxes, which we have absolutely done now. Now let's look at the next question for the blended limited. This is also, there are some formulas you need to work out. So let's say here, that one. Okay, now production budget is 2,000 units. Materials going to cost you £2 per unit, 2 kilograms per unit, £4 per kilogram. For unit per unit, 3 hours of labor, which is going to cost you £45 per hour. And then the last one, the total overheads are at £12,000. So what we need to do here, they are saying the overheads are absorbed on per unit basis. So that is very straightforward. We'll be able to find out what are the numbers here. They're saying here, enter the missing values in cell B3 to B13 and C12 and C14. So here, B11 to B13, what is that? Why it's not working? Maybe the other cell. Ah, okay. Now let's check, because I may have another. Oh yeah, now it's working now, because I have another formula running on the other one. So now they're asking you B11 to B13. So here they want you to fill out these boxes, and C12 and C13, C14. Okay, so they only want you to fill out B14. So B14, C11, and C13. and they want formulas. So let's say here, these ones, they want formulas, and these ones, they just want numbers. But let me do a formula as well. In the exam, if they ask you to do a formula, don't do a formula, just typing the number. Make sure you do a formula. If they ask you to enter the missing values, that means they didn't ask you to do a formula. You just start to put a number. So I'm going to say, I'm going to get a calculator, and I'm going to follow what they ask us to do. So here, B11, what will be the number? So let's look at that per kilogram. It's going to be 2 times 4. That is the total cost per unit. So here, let's do a formula first, okay? Let's do the formula here. This is going to be this times that number. That is going to be per. And this one, that number only can found out after you found this number. So let's do this one for the labor. Per unit labor, how much it's going to cost me? So it's going to be 3 times 15. That is 45 pounds. Let's fill out 45 pounds, because here they ask you to enter the missing values. So we've done the missing value now. And what is the total material cost? So if I'm going to say here, 2,000 units times £8 per unit, it's going to be 16,000 pounds. I'm not doing a formula again, guys, because they ask you simply to enter the value. Only these boxes, I'm going to have a formula, not anywhere else. So let's say here, the labor. The labor is going to be going to cost you 45 times 2,000 unit is going to be 90,000, and my total overhead is going to be 12,000. And here the unit cost, I'm going to do here that number divide by the total number of production units. So here that's going to give me £6 per unit. Now let's do the formula here for the total cost. This is going to be this plus that plus that. That is your total cost. But here they just want the number. So what I'm going to do, I can do the formula, but it's okay. Divide by 2,000 unit. It's going to give you 59 pounds. If you add these three numbers also, you will get the same number there. So again, they ask you to do is basically follow the instructions. So these numbers are all done manually with your calculator, and these three are the only ones they need a formula. So we've done all of those formulas. They're asking you here, format the cells on B11 to C14 to nil decimal places, accounting and nil decimal places. So here we have B11 to C14. We're going to change that to accounting. Can you see that here? There's the accounting option, and then nil decimal places. So you get rid of the decimal places by clicking on the reduce or decrease decimal. If you want more decimals, you can add here. You can decimal it here. So now can you see it has automatic 1,000 separator, a pound sign in the front there, and then it's no longer has any decimals. They're asking you here, place a border around the table in cells A10 to C4. So here A10 to C14, I'm going to go and click on outside border. It says here around the table of cells. So I'll do one like that way. If you want, you could have done all borders as well, or you can do thick outside border. That is also absolutely fine. So if you get that question, guys, this is how a spreadsheet will look like. Now let's quickly check a practice paper from Kaplan I have downloaded. We will look at it, see how a practice paper will look like there. So quickly, give me a second, please. There you go. So here You normally have some exam style questions here, but I'm not going to be doing all of them because you may be able to see that in some of my videos online. So can you see here? Question number 1.5. It has some spreadsheet elements there. They have given you exactly the way we asked that question. They're asking you here, purchase of the raw material was 26,250. So they ask you to do here, using the pick list below, select the most appropriate auction on column A to complete the headings in the manufacturing accounts. Insert the purchase of the raw material in cell B3. So here, the number on B3, we have to insert it. So we just have to type the number in. So and so we'll be able to do it quickly. Give me 1 second. So let me type. So here on the pick list, they ask you what are the boxes we're going to fill in. The first one is, according to this, direct materials used. Okay. And then the next one is, in this scenario, we're going to say manufacturing cost. And then here this is going to be B, cost of goods manufactured. Don't take a by the Y. And the last one is cost of goods sold. So I've done all of those now, and here they ask you to insert the number is 26,250 pounds. So what is the number is missing? The direct materials use. So get the calculator out for us and work out what are the numbers, because here they are asking you calculate all the missing figures on column B, show your answers to the whole pound, 4 marks, because it's a paper-based practice paper. Therefore, they just want the answer. But how would you do it if you get a question like this way? The formula will be B2 plus B3 minus B4. And that will be the formula there. And then whatever that number here, if you add that of 12,000 pounds to it, you will get this direct cost. And then you add to that direct cost this manufacturing overhead. So the formula here will be B equal to B7 plus B8. And then the element of the cost of goods manufactured. So we're going to have the manufacturing cost, which is B9, so equal to B9, and then plus B10 minus B11. That would be the number there. And the last but the least is equal to B12 plus B13 minus B14. That will be the last box. So let's see what is the number we expect to see here. Okay, so here that number is going to be 7,500 plus 26,250 plus 9,000. Nope, sorry, minus 9,000 again, because see, I made a simple mistake there. 24,750. So let's say here that is going to be 24,750, but there's no harm done. If you haven't got that right, you could go reversely. So here 36,750 minus the direct labor, it should give me that same number again, 24,750. So if you don't know how to work that out, you know this is the number they got it from here. You can go reverse. Now, what is the manufacturing cost now? The manufacturing cost is going to be 750 plus 37,500, 74,250. And then the next one, the cost of goods manufactured. So here that plus 5,250 minus 4,500, which gives you 75 grand. And the last but the least, the cost of goods manufactured. How would I do that? That one plus 36,750 minus 29,250, 82,500 now. Can you see here, whenever we get this question, they always ask you to work out the missing numbers. Can you see here, 4 marks for these headings, 1 mark for inserting the number, which is very easy. People will miss that out because they simply didn't read this part of the question there. You sometimes have to work out on the reverse side of it. You have to find the direct material used, and then you have to work out your way. In level 2, please remember, they're not going to give you that sort of a complicated question. And then they're asking here, which one of the following signs would be used within the spreadsheet to format the cells in column B to reduce the number of decimal places to nil? So here, if I have decimal numbers, if I want to reduce it, what I'm going to do now, guys, I need to make sure I use a reduction on decimals. Can you see here? This is 0.1 decimal to 2 decimals, and this one is from 2 decimal to 1 decimal. So this will be your answer. So here the answer will be in this one. This is the right one. If you go to look at the spreadsheet, you'll probably see, if I can find the spreadsheet, what's the last spreadsheet we use? That one. Can you notice that here, if I want to change the decimals, like if I'm going to use the accounting format and I want to reduce the decimals, can you see here 2 decimals to 1 decimal? I click on this one to make sure the decimal goes down less. Okay, so just please careful with this. You only look at from 2 decimals to 1 decimal. This one is from 1 decimal to 2 decimals. So this one is the one to reducing the decimals. Okay, and identify which one of the following would have been used within the spreadsheet to underline the cell on A1 to B1 to format the title in bold text. So here they ask you to do 2, one of them to underline, one of them to bold the text. So that is going to be tab 1 for the bold, and this is for underline. This is for changing the font to italics, which it's going to slant a few degrees. This is fill the box. This one is wrap text. This one is merge and center, and this is the font color. If you're ever going to get it, just if you're not sure about it, always go into Excel, and if you're not sure about it, hover over them and it will tell you what to do. This is the font color. This is the fill color. And this one is the bold, italics. And this one is your underline. Okay. And the next one is the AB. This is the wrap text here. You go. This one is orientation. You can change the orientation to different styles. And then this one is the merge and center. So please remember, guys, if you're not sure, in Excel, you'll be finding them. But in the exam, do not open Excel. You'll fail the exam if you're trying to open something from outside. Okay, please remember not to open Excel in your real exam. And finally, the last question of the day is this question here. Now, this is also being given to you as a spreadsheet. Can you see here? This is for a lot of marks. It's 20 marks is in this question there. You need to be careful with it, because when you see this, there is only some of them they want formulas. The rest of them, they just want the numbers. So they're saying here, using the information provided in cell A1 to E8, complete the table. Monetary values should be to the nearest whole pounds. Complete the budgeted column in spreadsheet using the information, calculate the missing figures. Okay, so here the budgeted figures, we need to calculate them, and then they're saying here, from the figures entered on B11, B15, D11, E11, illustrate the formulas would be used in the spreadsheet to perform the necessary calculation. So here they want you to fill out the numbers here. They didn't want you to do formulas on any of it. Only here, they just want you to do the 4 formulas. So what we now have to do, though, we need to make sure we will do the formulas only in these boxes. The rest of them is going to be just numbers. And they're asking you, calculate the variances, use the minus sign to indicate adverse variances, and calculate each of the variances as a percentage of the budget. State your answers to 2 decimal places. So what we need to do, again, you have to type the numbers, not the formula. Only the formulas mattered for these 4 cells. So let me quickly, I will highlight those boxes, but we need formulas here. So it's going to be B11, formula, B15, formula, D11, formula, and E11 formula. So if you know how to get formula for these 3 or 4, you should be able to do formula for everything else. That's what they're saying. So you don't really have to type formulas on all of them, but let's start doing them here with the calculator. Okay, so let's got that first one. What is the revenue they're asking you here? How to do the revenue here? The revenue is going to be type. The revenue is going to be equal to 45 units times 7,500 units. So here, this time, we have worked out the total revenue is 303,750. I will be prudently put a comma there with the thousand separator. Okay. So here 337,500. Now next one is your direct material cost. The total direct material in that case is 1,500 times the 42 per kilogram is 63,000 pounds. So 63,000. In the exam, you format it, it will automatically come up with that number. And the next one is the labor. It's going to be 3,450 times 20. It is going to be 69,000 pounds. So here I have that number. And the last one, the production overheads is straightforward. The number is already there, 75,000 pounds. And we have that number here. And what is your profit and loss in this scenario? I'm going to say 337,500 minus 63,000 minus 69,000 minus 75,000, 130,500. 130,500. It's my budgeted profit figure. So what we now have to do then, we have to fill out the rest of the boxes. But before we do it, we do the formulas here. Okay, let's do the formula on B11. B11, the formula is going to be equal to B3 times B4. That's all it is, isn't it? Because 7,500 times that 45, that is the formula here. We're going to say equal to B3 times B5. And that's it. If you put that number down like that, so not B5, it's B4. Okay. Next one, equal to, on B15, what is the formula is going to be? It's going to be B11 minus B12 minus B13 minus B14. That is acceptable. Or you can also do equal to B11 minus B12 plus B13 plus B14. They are also absolutely accepted because it is the same formula, but in this scenario we're putting all of those expenses together in one pile and then take away from the revenue here. Now the D11 is a bit complicated because they ask you to calculate the variance. Again, remember, only here the variance matters. The variance formula for other three are different. So in this scenario, actual minus the budgeted figure. So here actual minus the budgeted figure. So what we need to do here, equal to C11 equal to C11 minus B11. So that is the formula there. And the last one, the variance percentage, is going to be equal to the variance divided by the budget. So it's going to be C11, not C11. Is that D11? Yeah, it's D11 divided by B11, and then you bracket it. You don't have to bracket it all the time because according to BODMAS, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to times by 100%, okay? Because this is a percentage on the thousands, 100. So if you do the percentage, it is fine because otherwise you have to do a separate formatting. If you just do this and then you choose the formatting option there to the percentage, it will do it automatically, but they haven't said that anything as such. So they're saying here, calculate the variance as a percentage of the budget. So that means we need to make sure sometimes put the 100% on there, but here at the moment, you know, if you don't do it, it won't come up here. So let's do the numbers now. Here, the number is 319,275 minus 337,500 is going to be 18,225, 225. The next box is going to be budget minus actual 75,900 minus 63,000 pounds, which is given you. No, it should be the other way around. Budget minus actual, isn't it? 63,000 minus 75,900 is minus 12,900. Is the habit. This is also a negative variance, because remember guys, these actual revenue is lesser than my budgeted revenue, so this is a negative, but actual expense is higher than the budgeted expense, so therefore that is also a negative variance. And here again the same way, it's going to be 69,000 minus 72,000, so that is going to give you 3,000 pounds in negative variance. And the last one is here for a change, 75,000 minus 67,500. That is give you 7,500, a positive variance. And then they're asking you here for the profit and loss. What is the variance here now? Again, this is going to be actual minus budget, same as the revenue. So here 103,875 minus 130,500, 26,625. So here minus 26,625 will be the budgeted figure here. Now the percentage. Now let's come to the percentage. So the number is going to be 1,225 divided by 337,500 times 100. It gives you £5.40. Can you see here? They have set to 2 decimal places. So if I even get 5.4, I add the extra 0 there. Okay. So this time it's going to be a negative number. Okay. They have said that, this is a negative variance. Okay. So it's a minus 5.40. Next one is 12,900 divided by 63,000 times 100, which is going to give you a variance percentage of 20.48. So here minus 20.48. Next one is 3,000 divided by 69,000 times 100. That gives you 4.35. This is also a negative, so minus 4.35. The last one is, it's straightforward. It's going to be 10% because 75,000 divided by 7,500. 7,500 divided by 75,000 times 100. It's going to be 10%. So here 10.00. Okay. Make sure zeros, decimals doesn't go away. The last one, variance 26,625 divided by the whole profit figure of that one times 100, which gives you 20.40. But this is again negative percentage. Can you see here? I have got them all in the right percentage there, but make sure guys, since there is the percentage sign show here, I don't have to show this as percentage in this one. In the exam, this will automatically show as a percentage. Okay. And yeah, they didn't say as a percentage of the budget. Okay, calculate the variance as a percentage of the budget. You know what, for the safe reason, I'm going to put the percentage on all of them. Okay, so I'll put percentage and then it's fine. Now I'll should have done for all of them just to make sure we do that one. And then the last part, identify which one of the following would be used to format the variance as a percentage. Obviously it answered that question anyway, isn't it? Because here this is the box. I'm going to say yes, the right box to format them as percentage. So it answered our question anyway straight away. So here, guys, that is how you have to approach the spreadsheet exam when it comes to the PCTN unit. And this is very fundamental, very basic, very kind of a foundational spreadsheet knowledge you guys are exercising here. But most importantly, remember, when we're going to do the percentages, the informations are very clear. They will tell you how to use that information to your advantage. And then, of course, most importantly, and where you need to apply the formulas and where you have to just type in the numbers. And apart from that, guys, it's nothing else there to be very concerned about. Just think Excel is a toy. Just start playing with it and just learn some basic formulas and functions. And the time you reached the next level, you always thinking back on this time where you learned your first spreadsheet. If you've done it ever in the past, that's fine. You guys are doing absolutely fine. Whomever hasn't done the spreadsheet before, this will give you an kind of a springboard to success for further units as you go along. And then again, guys, the same functions you're using now, you can apply that to any other part of the questions from this costing unit. For example, if I'm going to quickly go here, let me share the screen again. Yeah, you could do these things on a spreadsheet as well, just to practice it, because I can create my own spreadsheet with this. So I can put all these numbers there and work out these numbers given all of the information they have given before. All you need to do is create a box with £16 rate, and then also you put down as what is the overtime, what is the overtime premium, and what is the the standard hours. You could do your own spreadsheet for any reason. If I'm playing with it, think this is my what is that again, the what is that, I would say here, this is the trump in the level what you're learning now in accounting level 2 certificate and qualification. Imagine that if you can put this down in a spreadsheet and you put the hours in here and all these numbers work out themselves. Imagine that, how impressed you will be. So please give it a go with these kind of scenarios. You have some practice papers from your books here, especially these ones. The behavior of cost, fixed, variable, semi-variable. You can put that on a spreadsheet, put the formulas, put the functions, whatever you think is going to make sense to you. Trying to use spreadsheet to master that skill, which will help you further along the line. You will not believe it. Some of the interviews you go, they don't even ask you any question apart from how good at you are in your spreadsheets. That's how they do that. And then if you know how to handle the spreadsheets, and you can guarantee yourself a really good position, because most of the time, doesn't matter how good with your numbers you are, if you can't handle a spreadsheet, and there is a chance you will be left behind on the pack there. So this is a place you're going to make your mark, and this is going to help you forever. And I will say to myself, because I'm only start teaching because I was very good with spreadsheets, because that is how I started. When I finished my A-levels, whilst I was waiting for my results, I was basically volunteering, teaching Excel to my, the school lower level students. And that was my first teaching experience. And that where it started all for me. And I'm looking back at that fondly now. I never thought about it highly until I started teaching. I felt like, I felt vindicated, because I thought I was doing something for, just no hope, doing something for nothing. But where I was doing there, and that what springboard me, because even if I go back to my original schools, if the teachers were still there, they will still recognize me, because what I was doing there at that age, I was feeling like, oh, I'm vindicated. At least there is use for my skills wherever we go. And that's how it is, guys. Wherever you go, do not forget, you always have some aces up your sleeve. Same as Granddad says to Del Boy, if you remember seeing that the episode of Only Fools and Horses. I'm only talking about the people who actually watched it there. Emma's looking at it, it's like, oh, can I remember that episode? You probably could, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it's like 4 aces, yeah. Oh, unbelievable. I've seen that sketch so many times, and Dean was coming back in there and saying, yeah, you probably see that, yeah. Yeah. What's the other guy's name again? I can't even remember. He had four kings. Yeah. I can't even remember his name now. Boise. Yeah. Boise. I got four kings. Four? I'm not sure you're good at counting, Del Boy. Oh, God. Pure English classics there were, guys, and unbelievably, I bring those up while I'm teaching as well. Some of the students think like, why is bring that up? Sometimes those cues do help, especially we have students from all different ages. Sometimes it resonates with them as well because sometimes the adult students, when you come to learning, you don't think about you sometimes fit in. You do, guys. Age is not a factor. We are always thinking about whatever you are, wherever you are, every skills you gather along the line is going to be another feather in your hat, and that's how we go. We need to make sure we use everything at your disposal, and this is one of those things, being master at your spreadsheets. And then of course there are so many free courses you can take up online. There are loads of videos on YouTube you can take up to. Please use spreadsheets to your advantage, and then of course this will help you further in your career. And yeah, thank you again, guys, for joining today. It's a really good turnout. I certainly appreciate, Dean, Emma, Cheryl, and I think Jamie was here as well, I'm assuming. Is that right? Yeah. Is that Jamie from your place, Dean? And
he was here earlier.
yeah, I saw him earlier. Yeah, I know he was there earlier, and that's
he definitely
good.
was here.
Yeah, I saw
yeah,
that name. I thought,
one
you
of-
know what, I'll say hi to Jamie, then I didn't
One of our
realize it
other
was him.
tutors, yeah.
And anyway, guys, I will be back next week with further sessions on this level 3 maths unit. So if you have any interest in how this spreadsheets is now being used in the higher levels, please drop in. You can come and join that session as well. I know the mostly will be with level 3 students, but you level 2 students also can come and join, just to see how the spreadsheet being used at very high levels. And then of course that is a kind of a motivational for you also to use, fall in love with Excel. So fingers crossed, and that might be a good sessions for you as well. So thank you. I appreciate your time today, and I'm looking forward to in future sessions. If I have any time available for any other sessions, I will put it down for level 2 students, and that concludes our level 2 program for Mondays with More for the year cycle of 25-26. Thank you, guys.